Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Well, welcome back, man. Thank you for coming back. I think it's the third time.
It is.
You're a regular now.
Oh, man. We start a gig.
If you can figure out how to get us paid from a podcast.
Somebody's doing it.
Well, listen, man.
Casper mattresses.
So, no real agenda. I always just love talking to you. We've done this for years. So I let ChatGPT AI write just give me topics for what we could talk about, right? And it's got a couple more, but I fed it your bio. I fed it my bio. I fed it a transcript from our last podcast and our little chat back and forth. And I'm going to read that if I can. I might need glasses. This is AI, ChatGPT, telling us what we should do. Join a Gen Xer and a Boomer as they delve into the pros and cons of political correctness and social justice warriors and explore ways to find a balance in this uncomfortable world. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
What,
Mrs. Davis, whatever you are.
I mean, it's kind of nuts that it was able to do that.
Well, I tried to get it to write a toast for my son's wedding a couple of weeks ago for the rehearsal dinner, and it didn't worth a shit for that.
No?
So, no.
Huh, why didn't it work?
It was just too general.
Oh,
I guess
okay.
it probably didn't have. It's probably user error.
That's interesting. Well, I made sure and give it the
the deal.
who I made sure it knew who we were.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's. But how do you? I mean, I don't walk around with bios on people.
I know.
I just have yours because it's from the website.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of freaking me out. I've been playing with it a little bit more. Have you messed with it more than that?
Nope.
I mean, you knew enough to go and see if it would write a toast.
I've got this one friend who's pretty manic about it, who just likes doing it and putting in.
Well, it's kind of like a friend that doesn't. It will never hate you.
That's true. That's like Elon Musk.
Well, I don't know. He might hate some people.
Well, yeah, he's neurodiverse though. Speaking of,
I've heard that
politically
term.
Correct.
What is? Oh, does that mean ADHD?
It's what they're giving now. This is apparently.
That's what that means. It means you have ADHD.
It means it's taking. I think there even people in recovery are supposed to be in there. It's autism spectrum is supposed to be in there.
Just means weird.
Yeah,
that was mean.
No, it's like
I was mean.
It's like a kinder, gentler way to say anything, which of course a lot of people must need, at least according to the internets, that everybody's just gets their feelings hurt.
Well, let's preface this with we're probably going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, not on purpose.
No, I don't mean to. I don't think, but that's the whole point, right? I mean, you kind of can't help but hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, and it's so unintentional. I mean, like the neurodiverse thing, that just came out of left field from someone not long ago, and I thought they were kidding.
But you can't help but laugh at it or chuckle. And then they're like, what are you chuckling about?
When it first hits you, it's like, okay, I understand.
It sounds funny to just think about, like it just sounds funny.
Well, and the whole progression of it, I get most of my basic thoughts come from South Park. And I don't know if you remember PC Principal that's on South Park.
Okay.
And it used to be just a big joke when he first showed up. You know, he and his fraternity bros were the exact opposite of what you thought fraternity bros were, and because they were so strict on the PC and everything. And it was funny and it was laughing, it was ha ha. And now it's kind of like, well, I need to go back and watch some old South Parks.
I need to learn the guide rails from South Park.
Yeah, because
it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, you can't win. I mean, if you've had as many years as I've had just conversing and reading and everything else in this stuff.
Well, that's why you're here.
It's just never come up before.
You are my village elder. Did I just insult you?
No, I was described as a patriarch not
Okay.
long, and my wife got kind of pissed at that because getting lumped in with the patriarchy just doesn't get you much place anywhere today anyway.
Well, let's look at that PC. Okay, so I looked up the definition of it because I was recently not PC by accident, but political correctness refers to the use of language and behavior that is respectful and sensitive to cultural, gender, and other differences. It aims to create a more inclusive and equitable society by avoiding language and actions that could be perceived as offensive and discriminatory. I feel like that's like the new definition.
I was going to say that one I agree totally with.
Right. It's kind of like
I will call you or I will speak to you in terms that you want to be called or talked to in.
Right.
I mean, that's just simple human kindness.
Always done that.
Yeah. And it's just, but the rules keep changing.
Yeah. It's like we extend empathy towards others. We always have. I mean, I know you always have. I always have. But it feels like it doesn't get extended back if I make a mistake.
And if it could be at least as from what I can tell from the people that insult me all the time, from what I can tell, it's not the people that I was speaking in terms of in the first place.
Right.
It's the people that think those people, if they heard it, would be.
It's the social justice warrior or whatever. I've always said that's like the worst type of being insulted, is being insulted on behalf of someone else that isn't insulted yet.
Yes.
I mean, what are we going to do, man?
Well, there was an old adage that I used to use because this dean that I had at Carolina looked like a toad. And he had this, this thing that hung down below his mouth and right up at his jawline, and it just kind of hung down like that. And we used to say that he had more chins than a Chinese phone book.
Yeah, you definitely can't say that.
And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, I won't do it again.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that bad to me.
Right.
But I understand.
Yeah, I get it.
If you're from that group, I'll be glad not to say that kind of thing again. I totally understand why you could be offended by it.
My intention was not to be racist. My intention was to make fun of that guy's chin.
Exactly.
Let's be clear.
But if you have to explain it, then it loses everything.
I know. I hate repeating a joke. It's not funny the second time.
No, but I agree with that definition totally.
Well, I think it's tied. I think it might be tied to a little bit of what you were telling me before we started. So the last episode, I was telling you that we had a lot of good response from the last time you were on here, and that I recently kind of sliced it up into little shorts for all the different social media places and stuff. So you might see yourself on the internet, which will be fun. Mm-hmm. But it's so far it's getting I've done a bunch of them that aren't you. And they get views and likes, but yours have gotten a couple comments. But and they're not like questions. They're more like, yeah, that's right. Or man, I never thought of that, something like that. But what were you saying? You were saying that you've seen an uptick in people coming into
12-step programs.
Yeah. Coming to the AA meetings.
Since everything opened back up and you could meet face to face instead of on Zoom, there's been a real uptick in the last year, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it's number one, what we had talked about before, that people during COVID were locked in and they were just, bored, and people started to do things more than they probably planned on or should have. And the next thing you know, they've got a problem. And so, but I think it's that whole thing of people are just looking for instructions, please.
Yeah.
When I was raised by this group of awful people called the Greatest Generation, who did not have self-reflection on their mind. And
well, yeah, we can talk about that, but yeah.
I mean, that's the people who raised me. And then we have these kids, and we've come from this generation where we haven't been given any instructions on let alone how to get a mortgage, let alone how to raise kids. And so we pass that on to our kids, which is the millennials, at least in my case.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of hope that they're listening to half of what you're trying to tell them now.
Probably not.
No, I wouldn't have. I mean, it's like I said about coaching Little League. If you're coaching your kid, if a kid hears a coach tell him what to do, he'll do it. If he hears his dad as a coach tell him, he hears take out the trash. And
I think you're right.
And that may be the number one thing against parenthood right there, is that you can't do it. They're not going to listen.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't listen.
No, I sure should.
But for some reason, you think I'm so self-centered and egotistical. I think that if I have kids, they're going to figure it. I'm going to teach them.
Yeah.
They'll learn. And,
yeah.
And then you come back from this big wedding festival that we had.
I was going to ask you, what was the deal with the wedding? It's what you texted me about.
It was wonderful. I mean, it was like son's 36.
So it's your son's wedding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Son's wedding. He lives in Nashville. So the girl's in Nashville also, his wife, woman, female, I don't know. And so I've been told by someone close to the problem that female is not the correct word.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They don't like that. But, that's trial and error.
I say it all the time.
So anyway, we had this bunch of folks all in one place, and it was almost like a sociology experiment. I mean, it was for me anyway, because I just hadn't been around that many people in that age, and they just, they're just chill as hell. I was absolutely amazed.
That's cool.
I'm around all these bro looking guys. It's almost like
lots of flip flops.
Almost like the PC principal thing. Lots of Pappy Van Winkle.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a fringe benefit of hanging out with millennials, though.
Yeah,
they like their whiskey.
They do,
mm-hmm.
and they don't care what time it is. And so we had this one guy up there who wasn't a part of the wedding party. He was working there, and he kept making these homophobic jokes.
Oh.
And these guys, God bless them, these guys got pissed and went up and said something to him.
Wow.
I said, man, you got to quit doing it. And I was like, golly, that's an eye opener.
Wow, they got a backbone too.
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm sitting here in Columbia with, at the corner of Main and Elmwood, and I just don't get a whole lot of input from those folks.
Right.
I don't put myself in a position to be in one, but it was like, gosh, these guys are, it's really okay.
Interesting.
And so that was kind of like the watermark for me for the weekend was, all right, these guys can be both. They can be hip hop happening kind of guys that are, thinking about other people's feelings and about how they communicate.
Well, why can't you be both?
I know. I think it's just,
I mean, you and I are kind of both.
Yep. But then, you turn on CNN.
But that's the thing, though, right? I mean, being an asshole is not new.
No.
I mean, there's been assholes since the beginning of time. I mean, Cain killed Abel.
Yep.
I mean, come on, because he was jealous. I mean, we've had assholes since the first 4 people.
Yep. And anger and resentment are the triggering devices for all my character defects.
Well, at least got self-awareness.
I mean, because the character defects are there, and I've had a whole lot of practice with them, and it's hard tamping them down.
Right.
You just got to be able to recognize them when they come out, because fear is just, that's what it's all about. There's this thing in recovery they talk about, said if I'm disturbed, then there's something wrong with me. In other words, I've got control over my anger, and I've got control over my emotions, that for some reason growing up, you think that that's just the way things are. Like something happens and you get mad, and you think of being mad as just being the 5th emotion instead of being something that you can control, which of course it's not. Now, which of course it is. I mean, you can control your anger. You can control being disturbed.
I hope so. I mean, we all know that dude that he, I get mad. I can't see red or whatever. It's kind of horse shit.
Yeah.
It's all a choice.
Sure it is. I was in the Publix parking lot the other day, and a guy pulls in his big old Ford truck, and he's got 2 little girls. He gets out of the truck. Yeah. He's got 2 little girls with him. And he picks up one and the other one's tagging along behind him, and they're going in the store, and it's all, neat and nice. There's a guy with his 2 daughters. I bet he loves them a lot. And then on the bumper sticker on his back window said, "I could shit a better president than Joe Biden." And I was like, man,
you're so close. You're so close.
Bo, you really got to do that to him.
I know. Yeah. There's a little separation there. I never been able to understand that either.
Well, there's so much going into the 2000 teens that have changed in my worldview. I'm not sure what held it back all that time for all those years that
I don't either.
That made, when you look back on it, which makes people that I thought were monsters at the time, they don't look too bad.
Let's just blame it on Facebook.
That's
Is that cool?
It's fine with me.
All right, that's what everybody else says. Well, are you familiar with Mark Manson? He wrote that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
No.
You've seen the book?
I have.
Okay. Well, I pulled out, I follow him. He's got a great Instagram, by the way. And I think some of these are related, so I'll just read them and then we can kind of riff on them a little bit. But he's got this one. It says, take a moment to consider this. Are your problems real? We invent threats to give ourselves a sense of purpose. We imagine obstacles to create a sense of meaning. We start conflicts with others in order to feel necessary. If we look at that, and we also look at, and I can't, now that I'm talking about it, I can't quote where it's from, but there was a report, I just saw it on the news. It was some percentage, let's be accurate, 50%, I don't know. It was some high percentage of people that report feeling lonely.
I saw that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's like CNN or what, I don't know, whatever. But if we look at these two things together, I think they might be linked. And it ties into the social justice warrior thing that we started out with. That it feels like people are creating problems
in order to.
I mean, so what do you think about that? I mean,
I think it's entirely real.
Yeah.
I mean, because ignorance is bliss. I mean,
I agree.
You didn't know you had these problems until you realized that you might have these problems.
Right.
And if you sit there and just get inundated
right
with whatever these perceived problems that'll make you click on the site or make you turn it over to whatever news channel,
right,
then people are comfortable with that feeling of being fired up. But it's also, it's so ephemeral. I mean, it's out there.
Right.
Like, I'm mad at something. I'm mad at this and I'm mad at that and I'm angry at that, but it's nothing that I can go out and put my finger on or do anything about.
But I think that's part of it. I think it's like, and I'm not going to just pick on millennials because, I know millennials that work their ass off. I know millennials that don't, but I know, boomers that work their ass off, and I know boomers that don't. But it's like you can rail against this problem and piss everybody off, but you never actually have to do anything because it's not real. So there's never really any, like, you can call to arms all day, but you're never going to actually get in the middle of war because there's no war actually going on, right? Like the war on Christmas. You know what I mean? Yeah. We can keep talking about it, but no one's really doing that shit. So it's not really a problem. No. You know what I mean? But we can keep writing articles about it. That's what it feels like.
And everybody blames COVID for everything, but
you were an asshole before COVID. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like,
I would have hated to have been locked up with your ass.
You know what I mean?
For how long it was.
Yeah, like
you end up with 2 little girls and a bad bumper sticker.
Yeah, I mean, you picked that bumper sticker out.
Yeah,
and they weren't around. I mean, that's who you are.
And the what do they call it? Not the free floating fear. That's just the free floating anxiety that's out there. That I'm not sure. I mean, let's look at the economy. The economy, obviously we got inflation and all that other stuff, but what did people expect coming out of the stimulus and everything else we did that people were begging for?
It happens every time we do it.
And you know it's going to happen, but everybody needs something. Look at all the businesses that were able to make it through COVID because of those kind of things.
Right.
And maybe the price we have to pay is inflation for a few years. And, you know, God, there you go.
Yeah.
God
I mean, we've had it
them.
before.
We have. And gas is $3.19. So that's well, I don't understand that part of it anyway.
Yeah.
It seems like every other time gas has gone through the ceiling, but this time it stayed comparatively.
Somebody's pulling the levers on that somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like it feels like they're just, everybody has this anxiety and they're just trying to find a place to put it. You know what I mean? So here comes Facebook and it can just tell you where to put it.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's the whole thing of being part of the problem and not offering any solutions.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just going to rail against this because it's wrong and rail against this because it's wrong, but I'm not going to offer any way to fix it.
Yeah. Well, like you're talking about the economy, I kind of got into that a little bit where I was like, oh shit, the rates are going up. Not even like I'm not gonna refinance my house. I'm done, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're going up. They're at like 7% or whatever. That's not good. The economy's going to shit, you know. But it's like, if you know, and what mine is like 3 point whatever, and I got it like 3 years ago, right before COVID. Now it's like 7%. And I was like, shit, the economy's going to crap. But I started like looking on the internet, and if you look at like over 50 years, 7% is kind of like the average. That's what it always is. And it's like, well, it's not like it's 17%. Like that would be really bad. But like it is kind of the 50-year average. It's not bad.
And then when you had, you know, being able to reflect on history, being old enough to remember Jimmy Carter, God bless him. And we had double-digit inflation for the first time in my lifetime.
Right.
And a lot of it had to do with, with the Carter administration. So here comes Reagan.
Right.
And the next thing you know, we're almost into a darn depression because of it, because they're rolling back everything. The point being that we're at the same point right now as we were in the early 80s with Reagan, and and the sides are switched just because it's Reagan versus Biden and the whole politics of it. But still, the Fed seems to control these kind of things, and they're out of our hands. And I can rail all I want to, or I can sit and wait because it's right. Governments don't like for people to rise up against them, I've found. And
generally speaking, no.
And the best way to do that is keep the economy healthy.
Right.
So I don't think anybody does this on purpose. I just think it's the economic reaction to handing out a couple of $1 trillion over a few years, trying to get everybody back to work again.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get the money from somewhere.
God, I sound like a new dealer now.
Carpetbagger. Well, here's another one. It's a multi-part one, but I thought of you when I saw this because you've always dished out like pretty straightforward advice and stuff. 5 truths that don't get said often enough. Okay. This first one here. No one is going to show up and save you. And the longer you wait, the more disappointed you'll be when you figure that shit out.
Check.
I love that. I mean, how does that reflect on your life?
It sounds, some people would take offense to that because it sounds so, it sounds like the end of the world. What do you mean? Somebody's got to save me.
Yeah. Because
nobody told me how to do it.
Right.
What we were talking about before.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the truth. Everybody's got their own gig.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
We are trying to get through today to get to tomorrow. And like in that movie Network, just let me have my picket fence and my steel belted radials, and leave me the hell alone. I'll figure it out.
Right.
And it is the truth, just because everybody does have the day to day, and maybe saving you isn't one of the things that they've got on their priority list.
Well, I thought of you when I read this because of our last conversation about the 12-step program, where it's like, it seems like that program is you figuring your shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody figures your shit out for you.
No.
They're kind of like, go do this thing. Come back when you've done it. And then you go do it. And you're like, shit, I was an asshole or whatever. And then you deal with it.
Here's how we suggest you deal with that. And then, you go out there and you don't do that and you get more of what you got before. If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And finally, when you do, it's like, gosh, maybe it is up to me.
Well, it seems like, it's like, I want to be called this, he, she, him, they, whatever.
Right.
And if you don't do it, well, we should have a law that makes you do it. That's kind of like the thinking, right? Like someone else, the laws or the government or some body of people should take my considerations into mind and make everyone else do it.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be where we are.
It is. It seems to be like, there's a whole lot of finger pointing, but there's not a whole lot of what to do about it. It's just
like even gun violence is like each side is just pointing at the other side, and it's like, well, maybe it's both of us. Maybe it's all of us.
Yeah, it's
it's everything. It's all of it at the same time. How about that? Like nobody wants to deal with it.
No, and then it all comes back to economics and our good friend capitalism and everything else, because there's just after all the examples of how not to do it the capitalistic way, I swear I still hadn't figured out what the way to do it is. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
But
it's got to be.
But I've seen everybody try it all these other different ways, from the English to the Bolsheviks, and it ain't happening.
Well, here's my thing about it too. Like, if you live online or you watch the news of any channel, you could be persuaded to think that America is in such a bad place that we're literally about to fall apart. But I don't see it that way. Like we've had Carter and Reagan and Clinton and Bush, and then Obama and Bush, but maybe the thing is that it's all of that together, continually changing and evolving. Like that nature of it is what makes us so great. You know what I mean? Like we're collectively figuring shit out. Right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what, when I look at it, that's what's going to make our country last. And when you look at the ones that fall apart, it's whenever that stops. Whenever one person is like, I'm the boss now, and we're doing it this way. And then it just kind of like, I'm fucking tired of that. So we're going to kill everyone and start over. Like, the fact that we're able to evolve. I know there's like conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff you can dig into, but like, that's just the way I see it. Maybe I'm an optimist.
Well, it seems like in front of our own computers at home, we're all these radicals that, we just sit around screaming at everybody. But when you put me out there in the midst of a bunch of other folks, we seem to be able to put that crap aside.
Yeah.
Unless we're at a political rally or at wrestling. That's what I compare.
That's right. That's about right.
That's what I compare all this to.
Wrestling.
Is wrestling. My dad, one of his side gigs was he was an announcer at wrestling.
Really?
And so I used to get to go.
Oh, wow.
And sit there and listen to him get instructions on when he needed to duck and all that other kind of stuff. And you see those people, and this was in the 60s.
Yeah.
Being kind. And those people coming in just getting so fired up over this unreal thing that's going on in front of them. And it's almost like we've got this displaced craziness to where we're sitting at home watching our screens.
Yeah.
And somehow it's not real. Somehow it's like wrestling.
Yeah.
It's all going to turn out.
I think you're onto something.
Okay. And
I think you're onto something.
But I don't see how it ends well, because I don't know what's going to force people out from behind their screens to get out there to talk to somebody that they have inherent disagreement with.
Yeah. It's something that's real.
Yep.
Yeah. It seems like whenever there's a tragedy or an emergency or something, we actually face reality and like we're able to do that, you know?
Well,
Yeah, this shit on your screen is not real.
the gun violence thing is just the most disturbing, I think, just
Yeah,
because
I think it is too.
it's not going to go away. And no, I mean, it's obviously it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
And there doesn't seem to be any kind of consensus.
Yeah, nobody's doing shit.
Anything.
Nobody's doing anything.
Anything. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, there was a guy whose gun fell out of his pocket in a restaurant last week in Cracker Barrel in Tennessee, I think. And the gun fell out of his pocket and shot 2 people when it hit the ground. And they were interviewing one of the guys that got grazed.
Right.
And he was telling the whole story about, well, the guy was drunk. It looked to be intoxicated. And so the guy tried to escape, of course, after he picked up his 9mm. And he got apprehended. And the cops came and gave him a citation and gave him his gun back and sent him on his way.
See, that's a little weird because you're not supposed to be intoxicated when you have a concealed weapon.
And
that's a felony, I believe.
You would think.
I think it is in the state of South Carolina. I remember my CWP course, which was a while ago. But yeah, you can't do shit like that.
No, and it's like one of the guys at the wedding said he thought in Tennessee that you had to carry. It was a law you had to carry a gun anyway. So,
well,
maybe not, but
maybe. But yeah, man,
that's how far we've come as far as the bad side of this. And I just don't see when you've got that kind of attitude where you get a citation for shooting 2 people in a Cracker Barrel.
That's crazy.
Accidentally.
Crazy.
I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. We should be doing something with that. But it's like politics as entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you look at politicians, you look at news programs, it's entertainment. People call shots in politics like they watch NFL games, you know?
Yeah.
And I got friends that do. And it's like, I don't need to see that every day. Like, I mean, I don't want to see how the sausage gets made in terms of politics, you know? Like, I think it's more than we need. You know what I mean? I don't need to see every single step that somebody takes every day. It's too much.
Well, and when the ratings, when the ratings are down for the news channels, then they're gonna
they make shit up.
They're gonna put an entertainer on. If nothing else,
yep.
He's an entertainer, and he probably knows that best because he doesn't have a whole lot more room for any other thought. And so today they're paying the price for it.
I think you're right.
The website's down anyway.
I think you're right. All right. I want to look at number 2 here.
Yep.
The only way to feel better about yourself is to do things worth feeling good about. Self-love is a form of action, not belief. What do you make of that one? I have my opinions, but I want to hear yours.
I think it goes back to, helping others is how people have always been able to deal with their own troubles.
Yeah.
I think the first time I even heard that, talk about no instruction book. First time I even heard that was in the 70s with Mother Teresa. She's the one that said it, and it registered with me.
Okay.
When she said, she had deep, dark, black depression. And so the way she stayed out of it was to be Mother Teresa, was to help others 24/7. And she didn't revert back into that. And it's one of the things in recovery too. It's like,
she probably felt selfish about it.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
she's Catholic. She's got to be guilty.
She's guilty about everything. I mean, like, yeah, I'm not just helping people to help people. I'm helping people to make myself feel better.
Right.
I should be a little selfish about that. I mean, I should feel a little selfish about it.
And
it's kind of weird.
And it's always, when you discover that, it's still hard to get back to. I know helping somebody else will make me feel better. And I feel like crap right now, but I got to get off my butt and go do that and go do that.
Got to do it.
Even though I know it'll make me feel better because I'm sitting here feeling at least with a familiar emotion or emotional state going on. And if it's not killing me, then, why put up the effort?
Yeah. I mean, I can get that dopamine hit from the scroll. I don't need to actually help people.
Exactly.
I can look at other people helping people.
Yeah, there you go. And then send them a check.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, that one seemed pretty straightforward, but I think it's important. There needs to be a lot more of that. I think everything we've talked about so far, and I'm not talking about getting upset with others on behalf of them before they're upset. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like doing something
Exactly.
I mean, doing something.
Just anything.
Yeah. But not that bullshit. All right. Number 3. I don't know how many there are. There's a couple. All right. Let me get back. Number 3. The best way to find out if the people in your life really care about you is to improve yourself and see how they respond. The ones that try to cut you down need to be cut out.
Hmm.
You think about that one?
That's interesting.
Yeah, think about that. How was it for you when you were making yourself better?
Well, and they warn you about this.
Yeah.
That just because you've made this 180 degree, what it feels like 180 degree change in your life, doesn't mean that anybody else in your life is going to be appreciative of it, because they've had years of experience with you saying you're going to do better and not doing better, or they've had years of experience of whatever kind of abuse you're dishing out that day. And so when you come home and say, oh, I've stopped doing whatever it is, whatever detrimental behavior it was that caused all this, or to help caused all this, then they're going to be like, okay, so you're finally going to act like a regular human being. And that to me seems kind of like the norm.
Right.
Other people have got to keep up that defense because they've been let down so many times before, if not by you, by other people in their life.
Right.
So I don't know about that one. Mm-hmm. You might want to take an inventory after a certain amount of time as to how, because after a while, when people can see that you're really determined and this is really a way you're going to live your life now, they come around. And the ones that don't, then those are the folks you probably want to cut out.
Yeah.
But they've probably already cut you out anyway.
Probably, because you quit doing whatever the hell you were doing together.
Yeah. When you go around making all your amends, telling people that you're sorry for your part in all these awful things that you did, 90% of the people don't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
And 5% are like, I hate you anyway.
5%?
And the other 5%
probably higher. But...
yeah, the other 5% are like, thank God you changed. I'm glad to see you're doing well.
Yeah.
If you're expecting more than that, then
Yeah, you kind of maybe you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Go back to step 2.
Yeah.
All right. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. There are only bad responses to emotions.
That,
I think it leads to we were talking about earlier that all this shit's a choice.
Yep. I think every emotion we have, to sound pretty wonky, every emotion that we have has got something to do with a chemical reaction and an electric reaction in our brain. Every, PET scans, everything else. The only way you have a thought in your brain is because some chemistry and some electricity came together in a certain way to make you feel that way. And if you don't believe that, then okay, what's your answer?
Yeah, right. That's a good counter argument.
Yeah, you got a God just hiding out between your ears, just telling you this stuff. And no, it's actually, that's how the brain works.
Depends on who you're talking to.
And so I kind of agree with the fact that there's no dishonest emotions because they just come.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right about the way that you react to them or the way that you handle them.
I think so.
Is up to you. The problem is the beat that it takes between the two. You get the emotion, okay, I'm going to burn your house down. And then what should be the proper answer kicks in. Does it kick in an hour later? Or does it kick in
immediately
5 seconds later? Exactly.
Oh,
that's the thing that takes practice.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. That's a good thought. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know people that they can't seem to control their anger. And it's always like it's not that you're angry. It's that there's something else going on, usually. And
being one of those former angry people, some people will laugh at the former part, but it's I didn't know you could control it.
Yeah.
We grew up with let it all hang out, man. You got to feel what you got to feel and tell them what you really mean and all that kind of stuff. And that's just totally not the way to go. uh, the
So is that like I mean, you're saying that, is that like a 60s, 70s
yeah,
thing?
yeah,
Okay.
like an old hippie thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Because I tell you, from a Gen Xer perspective, for us, it was like, repress that shit. Nobody wants to hear it.
which would be your grandparents, would be
Right.
my parents. That's the way they did it. So
Right.
our obvious reaction is to do exactly what the opposite of what they.
Right. So
they
you were like, let's talk about it. And we were like, shut up, leave me alone.
doing. Exactly.
So the millennials were like, let's talk about it. So
Yeah.
the newer ones are going to be cool.
Yeah, I can't understand the word they're saying anyway.
Yeah.
I'm totally out to lunch on
Yeah,
that.
they're just going to text you anyway. They're not going to talk to you.
That's true.
They don't want to talk to you. They just want to text.
Yeah, I still remember when Girls on Film, I thought was going to be the biggest problem for people to overcome when they decided they were going to be adults and go out into the world. And then somebody was going to come up with this. I just never imagined that 24 hours a day was going to be Girls on Film for all of us.
Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah. So where do you, would you rather talk to someone in person or text them?
Oh, you mean I would rather text them than talk on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate talking on the phone.
I
don't think
know.
anybody likes talking on the phone except teenagers.
But if I have the opportunity, I'd rather talk to you in person than text you.
Right.
But yeah, I think the whole thing that's dragged us kicking and screaming through the whole communication thing is just that's the way our kids are communicating with us. And so now that's how we communicate with everybody.
Right. Kind of forced to.
Mm-hmm.
I have clients that will every once in a while text me. And my initial response is always, it's not the proper channel to do business. And then I'm like, why am I like that? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't want to talk to him anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it was very short communication. We're good. Like, I don't know why I don't accept it. I don't know why I can't let it go. Maybe it's just, I'm stubborn. I don't know. But
well, we all have control issues. I mean, that's why I like golf and baseball. There's a rule for everything.
Right.
There's hardly any judgment left in either one of those. And I think some of that comes down to control.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's look at number 5. Until you're able to be happy with yourself, you'll always struggle to be happy with someone else. That sounds like it doesn't really fit in everything else, but it seems like one of those lifelong lessons.
Yeah, because I'm a lot harder on myself than I am on anybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
And that's another thing. We didn't know there was such a thing as self-love to be taught. I mean, you hear that all the time. I mean, you may hear about self-care and all that other kind of stuff, but
I just called it indulging.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but you never heard about self-love. I mean, you got to like yourself. Well, of course I like myself.
Yeah, what the hell?
But no, you might not.
We're good.
So yeah, that is interesting. That.
Well, how long have you been married?
That's 19 years.
19
this
years.
month. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, what's the secret there, man? How do you stayed?
Gosh. One way is, and this is the most flippant one, but one way is that we still make each other laugh until we cry.
Right.
And that seems to be something that just is, I don't know, it almost makes me cry just thinking about it. It's just one of those things that she can still do and I can still do for her.
Yeah.
And then the other things are just, the acceptance part.
Yeah.
That's who that person is.
Yeah.
And like we've said before, I got no control over them.
Right.
And no matter how much I think I do. So there's the acceptance part. There's the loyalty part, that someone's got your back no matter what happens. And then there's the whole thing with allowing people to be able to change or grow. This is not the person that I married. Well,
right.
You got a mirror.
Yeah. 20 years is a long time to not change.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone comes home one day and says, okay, I'm going to go back to go back to school, or I'm going to go do this or do that, then, that's them doing the best they can do. And what you should do is support that, because if you don't, it leads down another road. So,
well, and relating it to the post, I mean, you're responsible for yourself. Even the first thing we talked about, no one's coming to save you. You're responsible for yourself, right? You're responsible for your own happiness. That person is not there. They were not put on this earth to make you happy every day. You know what I mean? I'm sure some people will accept the mission.
Yeah.
But I think about that too, because me and my wife have been married, been together longer than we've been married, but 25 years almost. And it's like, I don't, she makes me happy because I made a good choice, and then it worked out, and we're cool and all this stuff, and she's cool, but I don't wake up thinking well, entertain me or whatever. But I feel like there's a lot of that. I talk to a lot of, I've got a lot of friends that are getting divorced or have gotten divorced or in the process of being divorced, or my brother just, went through some of that. And I think there's a lot of that that's going around where it's like, man, what are you doing? What are you doing for yourself? I don't mean being selfish.
No,
I mean, just what are you doing? You're not doing anything,
Is this person, if this person doesn't make you happy, then what is it that would make you happy? And it's not got to be, it can't be something
another
like
person.
If she would,
exactly
like the last one.
Come on.
You don't see that very often.
That's a little weird. That's a weird one. When somebody gets divorced and you see them a year later and it's like, wait.
Yep.
Okay, never mind. Yeah. You were the same, but whatever.
And yeah.
It's a little strange. I had an uncle that did that. His wife, uncle-in-law, whatever, his wife passed away. And then he got remarried 6 months later to a clone. It was really weird. It was what the hell?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Yeah, my stock answer is always, well, he's got a type.
It's whoa, that was weird.
Same everything, just a little bit younger.
Yeah. They just rolled back the years.
Yeah.
I like Chevy. Well, we started this conversation because you sent me that text about going to your son's wedding. I was trying to find it here.
It was wonderful. That was the best life experience I've had, and I can't remember how long.
You were talking about the cultural whiplash. I was looking for the words you used. Cultural whiplash, and I think that's funny. What made it whiplashy for you? What was?
Oh, I think the whip, like I was saying before, the whiplashy things were that these guys, and the ladies there too, were defined individuals and not somebody's kids.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why that hadn't hit me before as far as that's concerned. But, I always looked at my kids as my kids. And then if they had friends, they were
my kids' friends.
My kids' friends. And this time it was when I didn't know hardly anybody there and ended up loving everybody.
That's really cool.
Just because I don't know their parents. I didn't know them until then.
Right.
And made a point of going around and having a conversation with all of them. And it was this is really neat.
Yeah. These guys are cool.
These ladies, they all come from parents, but they're all fully formed individuals now. And it's gosh, what happened? Because believe me, there is nobody who laughed harder internally when people would come up and say, your son's a really great guy. You really did a good job. And I'm like, yeah. You don't know how great a guy he is.
Yeah.
To be able to do this on his own.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good moment. So is that your oldest?
Youngest.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow.
And then we got another one getting married in December.
Holy moly. 2 in 1 year.
Yeah. He owns All Good Books down in 5 Points. Everybody go down and pick
really?
up a book.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was your son.
Ben Adams. Yep.
That's awesome. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know that. I've seen that bookstore, but I haven't gone in there yet.
Oh, that's a neat place.
Now I'll make it a point to go in.
It's a neat place.
Oh.
They've really done a lot with it. It's the old Parthenon building, which of a certain age, everybody remembers going to the Parthenon.
I remember Parthenon, getting that spaghetti.
Pizza, and it's still in the same place.
Yeah. Wow. Does it still smell like Parthenon?
No, it smells like books now.
Damn it. That'd be great. A bookstore to smell like Parthenon.
And there's a parking lot between it and that sketchy bar that's right there. And so there's plenty of parking. You don't have to worry about 5.
Cool. Yeah, that bar is pretty sketchy.
Yeah, there's a lot happening there.
Well, man, that was great. I love catching up with you. Thanks for coming in.